people, PoohBear here and welcome to my channel. And today's going to be just a very kind of different-ish sort of video. It's more of a show and tell. That's what I've kind of really referred to maybe as a tech demo kind of video. So I'm just going to show you some of the technologies I'm actually using rather than the big deep dive. And it might give some of you guys some ideas. Obviously, I do quite a bit of voltage, modular and reason, and someone said to me, hey, what about VCV Rack? And I don't own VCV Rack, as in I didn't purchase the VST version at the time. I looked at it and I just found it very hard I couldn't justify the $99 at the time. I still can't, I still haven't bought it, but I just couldn't justify it, and that was the intro price, so it's even higher now. And I thought, well, I can use it, I don't need the VST version, I can use it. And that's exactly what you're actually listening to here right now. So let me just zoom in a little bit. So we've got obviously this sequence here. This sequence is going down the stack, so you can't see it all. I'll remove some of these other screens so you can see a lot more what's going on. But the basics is I'm running this sequence, it's going out via CV, it's coming into voltage modular. I'm controlling obviously a number of more of the drums which are being fired off, and obviously controlling my first contact in there. I'm also bringing it into VCV Rack again. There's no MIDI loopbacks at all, this is all using CV. Bringing it in here, I'm actually sending some LFO data back out of VCV back into Reason, and in fact I'm also bringing an LFO from Reason into VCV Rack to control this particular mixer here. It brings in like a whooshy sort of sound, and yeah, so this is the kind of setup what we've got going on. It's quite a weird setup. I say I've got an LFO here again which is fired off and using my in-ran randomizer. And that in-ran randomizer is controlling this sequence here, as in the tempo, because the sequence we can run it half speed, normal speed or double speed. So you might see this suddenly slow down or suddenly speed up. Obviously with OBS running, you're going to start seeing things maybe jumping around like you shouldn't do really. And the backbone, you could say, of how I'm actually bringing these all together is I'm actually using ASIO Link Pro, and I suppose this video is more going to be sort of aimed at ASIO Link Pro. So for you Mac users, you can do this similar sort of setup. Okay, you've got to use your flowers, Blackbird, Birdseeds, I don't know whatever applications you've got, where you can obviously do your routing. I've used an application on Windows for many years called Jack. But I feel Jack, a number of people do have issues with it, and it's one of them things is either going to work on your system or it's not going to work on your system. It's flaky from that point of view, a bit like people can run Reason Balance okay on their systems, and other people just can't get it working at all. But someone, you know, there's a number of threads I remember going around, I think it was just Christmas time, just gone. People was talking about ASIO for All, because a lot of people use that. And someone said to me, hey, I should go and check out ASIO Link Pro. I remember when ASIO Link Pro sort of came out, and it used to be a paid product. Unfortunately, I think it's one of these stories where the developer has passed away, and now this is actually made available and you can get it free. You do have to run, it might sound dodgy, like a little hack to get your product key entered, but it is all meant to be official. So you go to the particular site, you can download it, you can download this patch which gets you around of having to enter serial numbers and all the rest of it. And so what you can do with ASIO Link Pro is, obviously I've set this up so I'm talking to my main ASIO driver, so I'm talking to my main bit of audio, but I can actually share that these in different applications, including, so I'm running ASIO Link Pro in Reason, in voltage modular, in VCV Rack, and I'm also coming back to OBS. So I'm feeding all that, you know, back into OBS, whereas in the past I tend to drop down to DX drivers if I wanted to use OBS. It's just one of the quickest thing to do. But the biggest issue, you've probably heard me say it in the past, is when I try and get to DX drivers, especially when I'm doing really heavy CV stuff, is it messes with your buffer sizes, and buffer sizes with this kind of setup really do kind of matter. You can't be swapping them around left, right and centre, because it really does affect things quite badly. So you could say, as I say, how these are set up. Let me just go off the screen. I'm just going to bring this little tool in. This is one of the things which comes with it, this like little sort of link tool. The thing I'm going to pull up about this is there's this option here which is turned off called Enable Loop and Loopback for the racks. Do turn it on, and I say as soon as you turn it on, you get all these extra ports which become available, which you can actually loop out and you can wire around, and then you can loop them back into other things. So it's so confusing. Let's just jump into Reason itself for a second, and you can actually see I'm using audio. So I'm using the audio, and that's what I'm going to refer to as CV, because it doesn't matter, it's a cable. At the end of the day, people who are really into CV, we just talk about the cable. That's all we really care about. We don't care if it's audio or if you think it's carrying a kind of modulation signal. It's all one and the same thing. I am using robotic beams, converters to convert CV to audio and audio to CV as well. So I'm using that sort of stuff. But as you can sort of see, if I come here, say for instance, I've got these outputs here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I come down to this one here, here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, I've got 6. So I've got 6 outs at the moment. And you can see there's these little tiny wires which I've actually got routing out. So this is my normal audio, box standard. So that's coming out of Reason. I've got it going into this kind of mix out, and this is what I set in OBS. So in OBS I say I'm going to use this as a driver for my input, so I can get all the volume coming in to the sounds actually into OBS. This here is actually gate data, and this one here is note data. I've actually got them routes and going off to different places. I'm still learning ASIO Link Pro. They're still quite heavy, so I wouldn't usually say split this signal off the way I did it, because I was using originally when I was playing around with this project, I did have voltage modular as a VST, so I could have it inside. I thought, well, actually it makes more sense, let's push it all out. So I had to rewire a few things, as I said, because of the limitations within voltage modular on the number of ports in and out we can use. So rather than rebuild things, I thought, hey, let's see what I can get away with the routing ability of ASIO Link Pro. So as you can see, I've routed some things out. This is an LFO, which is a little LFO I've got going, and as you can see, that's getting fired out. And I can't remember what 6 is. I'm going to have to go and have a look, and have a look at the back end to see what's going on there. Oh, I know what that is. That's actually little LFO, again firing off a square. Yeah, it's just a square LFO which is getting fired off from there, which is going into voltage modular. Then if we come up to somewhere like this particular one here, this is going into VCV Rack. So 25 and 26 was my gate and my note data. So I link that into ports 25 and 26 in the host. So this is where it gets all nice and confusing. So I'm going to have to just quickly scroll off the screen and bring up. This is the problem about when they're running separate now. So if I come into here, and zoom into here, so I said 25 and 26, if you notice I'm using ports 17 to 32 on this particular audio device. So, and then we're looking from device, so this is coming in. So 25 and 26 will be these ports here, so that'll be 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 and 26. So that's my gate and my note data coming in, as you can see. So when you flip the cable, you better see it's going to the gate, and obviously then I've got these green ones going to the pitch. So that's that. So that's quite straightforward. That's how that sort of hangs together. So you just sort of link things up. As I say, I've got this LFO obviously going as well, and then I've got some outputs. But the big difference is, because I've got this routed into the host, so this is the Reason one. So in the Reason one, I've enabled multi-clients, and then on this one here, I kind of route into the ISA. So anything which is now coming straight out of that particular, this one here, which are these ports at the top. So I've got some note and gate data again going out, and these ones are coming from this LFO which are going out. I've got a hi-hat going out, and I've actually got the actual sound as well also going out on here. That automatically starts firing off, as you can see up here, but that automatically starts to come into Reason as well. So the inputs, let me get this right, so the inputs are here, sorry. So these are the inputs. So remember I was saying I was using 17, I think, to 32 on that particular device in VCV Rack. Well, here they are, so this is where they're all wobbling out. So you can see where it's saying 17, 18, 19, here we are, 17, 18, 19, 20. So that's how that ties up. And then obviously it's just a case of, I just, from the back, some of these are going via It'd be the audio to CV, sorry, this hasn't been coming in. So it'd be going audio to CV, and then I'll be sort of sending them off. So VCV Rack, as I said, is coming in on a couple of these, going through this, and I'm then going straight into via a little setup up here to, because we've got to rescale everything. So the scaling, obviously in Reason, we use a 1 volt scale. Everywhere else uses so we use 1 volt for all notes. So it's 127 notes goes into our 1 volt scale. Whereas when you go into VCV Rack and into Voltage Modular, they're using a 1 volt per octave scale. So you have to rescale everything. Thankfully, Reason actually does quite a good job for you automatically when you go to them. So a 1 volt out is a 5 volt in the other ones. So it's already done some scaling, but it's that final little bit of adjustment that you have to do. Thank you for that, I'm recording. Now, here's a lovely little tip. I keep forgetting to always give this tip out, so I'm going to do it now while I remember. Let me just get rid of that screen here, and that's the, oh, is that one there? Yes. Here's a handy little tip to do with Janitor. Now Janitor, as people probably know, when trying to dial this scale in, it's a nightmare because of the way it jumps. You know, it jumps quite a bit. And actually, the easy way of dialing in really precise values, and you can actually go down very small values as well, is I use the RVL. So I put the scale to 0 on the front, and then on the back, I'm taking the scaling from my RVL, and whatever I set there, so my RVL, I can just come in here and I've set 0.945, so I'm rescaling the signal by that. And yeah, it's done it. If I try and dial 9.45 in, it can be really hard. In fact, I think that one does dial in quite actually okay. But there's other ones like this one here, I'm rescaling it to 1.058. That was like impossible to get, but so I've got another Janitor further down. So when I use that, brilliant, it works really well. So this is a real handy trick, and I say you can take these scales, even though it's saying it's 0.001, well, you can actually get these divided so they actually go 0.000001 or something. You know, you can really move everything down, and then you can drive, as I say, Janitor with it, and you can get very precise on the scale. As I say, I've been using that for quite a while, and I keep forgetting to tell people about that because it's such a sneaky way, and it's a way I really like to use it. I'm having to use a slope actually when I'm bringing in my gate data. If I don't use the slope, it just messes this up a little bit. I think I've got a very tiny delay of like just a couple. In fact, actually it sounds all right now. I'm going to leave it on. Okay, it might have been, I was messing around with some other stuff which may have been messing up the gate data, but I was using that obviously just to delay a gate, and it was bringing it all in quite nicely, but it's sounding okay there at the moment. So yeah, so that's what I do with the scaling. So we have to rescale things coming into from VCV and from Voltage Modular. The big advantage obviously with Voltage Modular, those who follow my channel or know that I've actually done some, built some modules within Voltage Modular, I actually have written a converter for us, so you can just take the CV data, and rather than having to work out loads of formulas and convert it, you just put it into my module and it spit it out for you, so you can just bung it straight to the audio, bring it in, use the normal audio to CV, or you can use Thor to do it and just push it straight into the back of an instrument and it'll work without having to do any other conversions. So as I said, this is more of a tech demo rather than a deep dive. You know, there's nothing else really special going on here. As I say, if I was to set this up more as a, you know, I'm going to do more of a project with it, I would definitely be using MIDI loopbacks all over the place. A, it will save the ports. B, it's just so much tidier, and it's so much easier to use all the loopbacks, and then I can send MIDI from here straight into VCV Rack and straight from VCV Rack back into Reason. Maybe some people didn't realise that the very last project I did, where I was using that new macro and I was using my back end, I was using my black box in C. When I was sending out 8 channels of MIDI, MIDI straight into Reason, but and another split each of the MIDI channels off for each of the macros I had running. So I think I had 8 of them running, didn't I? Or I might have had 9, but I think the 9th one was actually running via the audio route because that was just like a pulse. I think I had one there. But there we go. So this is the sort of thing I've been playing around with. ASIO Link Pro, I'll put a link in the description so you can go and actually have a look at that and look that up. And as I say, for you Mac users, you've obviously got your other ways that you can obviously do your routing as well. So you're not stuck. You can use VCV Rack, it's a freebie. You can use it in conjunction with Reason quite happily. You don't need to go and get that VST version. I'm not saying don't go and get it, it's down to you. If you've got the money, go and get it. But here we go. Anyway, I'm burbling. I don't think there's anything else for me to say really on this particular project. The only other, I suppose the other silly little thing just to say is, and I'm just moving the wrong screen now, is I'm using things like these little helpers just to, if you don't, your wiring really does go out of control very, very quickly with all these different loops now. So I've got loads of little things I've written in, so oh, I've just zoomed in on the wrong screen. God, it's all going to pot now. So yeah, so we can use these little helpers so you can just type in all your labels and all the rest of it and where things are coming from, where they're going to, obviously for your ins and outs, because you start using a lot more ports than you can imagine. And yeah, I really am going to say thank you for watching, and I'm just going to shut up.